What's up guys, it's Chase here with one of my most highly requested video topics. What is the best gear to run on dualies in Splatoon 3? So look, I'm gonna be totally 100% honest with you guys. I don't know. In fact, no one really knows. The game has been out for less than a month, the meta is still developing. The truth is, I probably wouldn't be able to give you guys a true confident answer for like a year or two probably. But with that being said, there are abilities in this game that people think are good on dualies right now. And there are abilities that I think are good on dualies right now. And since so many people have been wanting to know, I'm going to share those with you today. But just know, anything I say in this video is subject to change. Really quickly, if you guys enjoy videos like this and want to see more competitive Splatoon content, consider subscribing. I've got plenty more on the way. Alright, now let's get into it. Before we talk about each individual dualie, let me first address utility subs. These are abilities that you only need a small amount of, but they can be extremely useful. And not just for dualies, these can help with pretty much every weapon in the game. For right now, I'd say the baseline for utility subs on dualies consists of the following. 1 to 2 subs of quick super jump, since just one sub nearly cuts your jump time in half. 1 to 2 subs of ink resistance, since dualies will often be touching enemy ink due to dodge rolls, and 1 to 2 subs of sub defense up, since this ability stacks very well and can protect you from a variety of things. Whether you want to run 1 or 2 subs of these abilities is entirely up to you. It really just depends on what you want. Alright, so first up, let's talk about Splat Dualies. The Splat Dualies fill the role of your basic Slayer-esque weapon. So it would only be natural to run basic Slayer-esque abilities. These include swim speed, quick respawn, and stealth jump. Another important ability that I think you should definitely consider running for the Splat Dualies is Intensify Action. While this ability of course improves your squid rolls and surges, it also helps with your jump accuracy. For experienced Splat Dualie players, this is great because jumping in spread mode is a technique that can be really useful. It helps you reach certain angles and provides another form of mobility that can throw off your opponent. I'd say anywhere from 2 to 5 subs of Intensify Action would be a good amount for the Splat Dualies. Other optional abilities that you can consider running for them are Ninja Squid, which is just really good for Slayers in the meta right now, as well as Comeback. I like Comeback on this weapon because, as you may have figured out by now, Splat Dualies don't have the greatest ink consumption when it comes to dodge rolls. While it's not bad enough to warrant running any Ink Saver main, the efficiency perks that Comeback gives can have a noticeable effect on Splat Dualies when it's active. However, some people opt to run Last Ditch Effort instead, which is the better ability for ink efficiency perks. Once Last Ditch Effort is activated, those effects will stay throughout the rest of the game. They won't go away like they do with Comeback. I just like Comeback because it gives you a little bit of everything. Efficiency perks, speed perks, and special charge up. But if you really like having more efficiency, you should probably run Last Ditch Effort. Again, it's really just personal preference for these two. So now let me show you some examples that some top players have been using. Next up, Dapple Dualies. So this is going to be a weird one because the gear I'm going to be talking about is specific to the vanilla Dapple Dualies. Later on, once we get other Dapple kits, those aren't going to have Squid Beacon or Tacticooler, and in turn, they're probably going to be way less supportive. So just keep that in mind. This gear only applies to the vanilla Dapple Dualies. So since this thing has Beacon, you're going to want some sub power up. If you didn't know, sub power up curves really well for Squid Beacons. What I mean by that is running low amounts of it is very effective. Running just one sub nearly cuts the amount of time it takes to jump to a beacon in half. And remember, that applies to everyone on your team jumping to a beacon, not just you. Personally, I'd run anything between 1 to 3 subs. It depends on how fast you want them to be. Besides that though, you can kinda just run your typical Slayer stuff, similar to the Splat Dualies. Quick respawn, swim speed, ninja squid, comeback, stealth jump. These are all fair game. However, I would put a little more emphasis on the swim speed here. Since Dapples have such short range, having a ton of swim speed can help it close distance faster, and it can also help you escape faster. One last ability that you could consider running is Object Shredder, but I'd only run this for Rainmaker. Why? Well, Dapples are the fastest killing weapon in the game, and if you mix that with Object Shredder, this thing can get the Rainmaker shield pop nearly every time. Here are a couple example builds that I came up with. Alright, Dualie Squelchers. There are two abilities here that I'd say are absolutely necessary for Dualie Squelchers at the time of recording this video. The first one is going to be Last Ditch Effort. The reason why this is so good for Dualie Squelchers is because if you've used this weapon at all, you know that this thing has bottom tier ink consumption. If you throw a Splat Bomb, you can only dodge roll a couple times before you're out of ink. Last Ditch Effort can help a lot with this. In ranked battles, Last Ditch Effort's effects will start kicking in once the enemy team pushes the objective past 50, and the effects will stay for the remainder of the game. This will allow you to become more efficient as the game progresses. Now you might be wondering, why not just run Ink Saver main? Well, you can. However, I do think Last Ditch Effort is better because once the effects are activated, you'll get way more out of it than by just running one main of Ink Saver main. Once fully activated, LDE will give you the equivalent of 8 subs of Ink Saver main, Ink Saver sub, and Ink Recovery up. You can see why this ability is so good now, right? It's considered to be one of the best abilities in the game for a reason. The next important ability for Dualie Squelchers is Intensify Action, and it's good for the same reasons that I listed for Splat Dualies. For Dualie Squelchers, I advise you to run at least 3 subs of it, but if you find yourself really liking its effects, you can go higher. The rest of the build is up to you. Let me show you guys some builds from some top players to give you some inspiration. Almost done. We'll be discussing Glooga Dualies next. Now, if you played Splatoon 2, you'll know that Glooga Dualies could be pretty diverse with what they ran, and that hasn't really changed here. You could go a lot of different routes. I personally like to go for a quick respawn build with a tiny bit of swim speed. Here's an example of a build I would run. This is very similar to a build that I would run in Splatoon 2, but of course, you can run a lot on this thing. Once again, abilities like Comeback, Last Ditch Effort, and Stealth Jump are all viable, but not necessary. Now, as you know, the vanilla Gloogas have Splash Wall. Once you throw a wall down, and then dodge roll, you really don't have that much ink left over. Now, there are 2 paths you can take here, and this is totally personal preference. You can run some Ink Saver main to let you shoot longer after throwing a wall, or run a little bit of Ink Recovery so you have less downtime after throwing a wall. I personally prefer Ink Recovery for Gloogas since I don't run out of ink that much, and being able to refill my ink tank quicker is pretty nice. But other people feel differently. Keep in mind, for both of these abilities, you don't need to run that much. I only run 2 subs of Ink Recovery, and those who choose to run Ink Saver main tend to run around a main. The last weapon to go over is the Tetra Dualies. Now, when it comes to builds for Tetra Dualies, I only have 2 words. Quick, respawn. That is all. Here's the build that I'm currently running. So, since I know you guys are going to ask, let me explain why QR spam is so good on Tetra Dualies. The main reason is, it allows it to do what it does best, even more efficiently. Tetras are a weapon that tries to open fights for your team. You rush in, slip and slide all over the place, and make things annoying for your enemies. But of course, with a playstyle like that, you're gonna die a lot. It's just natural. Running a ton of quick respawn will allow you to be more present in the game, even if you're dying a lot. Now, you might be thinking, well, shouldn't I be running other perks that actually help me in fights? And my answer to that is no, because Tetras don't really need it. You are primarily going to be chaining dodge rolls when trying to kill with this thing, so abilities like swim speed, run speed, and intensify action aren't going to be helping you with that. Tetras also have a pretty good base ink consumption, so as long as you play smart with your auto bomb, running out of ink shouldn't be much of an issue. Therefore, it doesn't really need any efficiency perks either, like Ink Saver main, Ink Recovery, or Last Ditch Effort. Now, one other ability that I would argue is absolutely essential for Tetras is Stealth Jump, and I'd highly recommend pairing at least 1 sub of Quick Super Jump to go along with it. Stealth Jump will allow Tetras to jump back into the action more safely, and it pairs really well with Quick Respawn. Here are some builds from other top Tetra players. Alright, that's all I have to share with you guys. Now remember what I said. Everything that was stated in this video could be outdated a year from now. We just don't know. If there are any major changes, I'll post it in the pinned comment, and I'll probably make a new updated video on the topic as well. I'd also like to give a shout out to Sendao.inc, which is a competitive Splatoon website with a ton of resources, including a build browser, which is how I was able to show you guys other top players' builds in this video. And just so you know, any of you can go on Sendao and look up top players' builds for any weapon. If that's something you may be interested in, check out the link in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel, as I'm not stopping anytime soon. That's gonna be it for me. Thank you so much for watching.